Oh, that light is very bright. How are you doing? Okay, so the theme is origin story. And origin stories usually come in two parts. The first is typically biological and one of coincidence. You people come together, they fall in love, a baby happens, and you are that. That's the first part of everyone's origin story typically. And then the second is usually either metaphysical, or divine intervention, or sort of Jesus comes along, or you find a place, stranger in a new land, that sort of thing, or drug related, good trip, bad trip, that sort of thing. So my wife was like, just when you tell I was confused about which story I was going to tell, and she was just like, when you tell your story, just don't do what you do and go dark. And so I'm gonna try to not do that. So, when this story is contingent. I was looking at sort of people who are coming in. Unfortunately, this is a good crowd for this. This story is contingent on people remembering what life was like before the internet, and then at least remember the transition sort of into the internet now. There's anyone under 25 would think that this story is stupid. So. When I was, and also this is not the story I planned on telling. I just decided to tell this story, so buckle up. When I was 15, my mom and my dad got divorced, and my mom moved to Connecticut in with a new guy, Steve, and Steve is still my stepdad. But we didn't know if he was going to forever be my stepdad at this time. We were testing it out, and I was, being pleasant enough, but a jerk most of the time, just to see how it would go. And and so Steve is he likes Michigan football. Their wedding was Michigan football themed, and that's the truth. And he's a big guy. And he is very sweet, but when you're meeting a new dad, when you have a regular normal dad that you like just fine, and you're a teenager, it's weird. So I was staying at their house. This is the first time I was staying at their house. Also, 2 years previous, I got on the internet and never got off. 2 years prior, I hooked up a computer to a phone line and was just like, no, I'm going to be here forever. Went on message boards and sort of met people and talked about things and learned about anarchy and all the things you do when you're a teenager and think you know everything. And I became friends with people on the internet. And so the reason why it's important that you remember the time before the internet was before Facebook, the idea of people on the internet was terrifying, especially to parents of children on the internet. And I became friends with people, and sort of sometimes I'd go out because my mom had a more laissez-faire attitude about how kids should be. I would go out and sort of take the bus or the train and meet people I met on the internet. And if that was fine. I'm not going dark. 100% of them, I'm happy to report, were the people they purported to be. 100% of them, which is mind-blowing in retrospect because I have a daughter now. And if I ever learn versions of this story later, I will be very uncomfortable. So I went to go meet people, and at least I had something of a track record of doing that. And so the first time I'm going down to meet Steve and my mother, I am over their house, and I am staying up late, and I'm talking to the people on the internet, and I'm talking to Karen and Hal. And Hal is over visiting Karen. We all know each other from the same movie community thing. And they are in Delaware, which is the funniest state. And because it's just a corporate shell. I don't know if you know anything about Delaware, but it's just a corporate shell to hide money in. And I think some famous people are from there. Karen is one of them. And Karen's a little older than I am. She's 21 years old. And Hal is probably approximately the same age. And we're talking all night online and having a good time. And then I call them And I've always been this size and like have read books and stuff. And I think I could at least appear as if I was 15, then maybe I came off as 17. Who knows? I never told them I was 17. And so we were talking back and forth on the phone, and it was like 1 a.m. You know, we started sort of earlier on in the afternoon. And then I was like, hey, you guys should come to my stepdad's house here in Connecticut. And they were like, yeah, sounds like a super good idea. I was like, cool. They were like, we'll look this up on Mapquest. Deep cut for the internet. We'll look this up on Mapquest and we'll go to your house. Sounds like a good idea. Here is my phone number at the house. I don't have a cell phone because obviously. I'm not Zach Morris. And I said, you know, come over, give me a call when you get into Milford, Connecticut, and I'll figure out a way for you to get here. Ideally, Mapquest gets you to the door, but it doesn't. For the sake of this story, this is how it goes. And they get to Milford, Connecticut 4 hours in. And by the way, I said the thing out loud. They thought it was a good idea. They drove to come and see me. And in all of those 4 hours, I never thought of what it would be like when Steve woke up. So Steve wakes up. And my mom wakes up as well. And they're like, have you been awake all night? I was like, yeah. They were like, what have you been doing? I'm talking to Karen and Hal. My mom's like, who's Karen and Hal? She doesn't get it, like the internet. She thinks I'm like learning about math. They were like, we need to get him on a computer because this is going to be good for his education. And it was, but not about mathematics. And so my mom's like, so what are you talking about? I was like, well, okay. Karen and Hal, these people I know from the internet, they are coming here. They're going to call any minute. And it, like sort of like clockwork, they called. And I talked to them on the phone. And they were lost. They didn't know how to get here. So they found a cab. And they talked to the cab driver. And they said to where they needed to go. And they followed the cab driver in their Camaro, which is awesome that they drove a Camaro. And they came to the house. And at some point, my mom and I had to tell Steve that strangers from the internet were coming to the house to hang out for a while. And Steve, like a champion, was like, okay. And was somehow cool with it in the moment. And I mean, this sounds like it's going to have a darker, weird ending. It has no darker, weird ending. Just Karen and Hal came over to our house at 5 a.m. And I was supposed to go to Boston with my mother to visit my grandmother that day from Connecticut. And so my mom, me, Karen and Hal drove to Boston to see my family. And forever, this has been sort of notoriously my introduction to my stepfather, who essentially I think feels as though that paved the way for our completely fucked up relationships. That is all. I'm happy to be all in one piece. Thank you.